switching our market to dentistry was something that you were not comfortable with.
It almost felt like it's limiting.
Welcome to another episode of the podcast. We have an exciting guest, my co-founder and chief product officer, Hossein Mansouri. We've known each other for over 15 years. We actually went to high school together. He's one of the most visionary and world-class product designers that I've come across, and I sometimes call him Michael Jordan of product design. And in this episode, he shares some of the early Sprintray stories as well as some product design tips and secrets. Hope you enjoy it. What is difficult about building a company?
Goal-oriented people, those are one of the hardest resources to find. Industrial design is occupied with both form and function. It's never just one of them. If it's just form, it's art. If it's just function, it's engineering. Because you may have a great idea, but getting it to work is a different story. The ability of 3D printing to shapeshift really is a necessary component of doing dentistry because we're all different from each other.
What has changed in your life?
The financial benefits of that has been great, but it also comes with responsibility.
Are you proud of the brand you built? Hossein,
Amir,
good to have you on the podcast.
thank you for having me.
You're an industrial designer, and often I find it hard to explain to people. So I have a question for you. What is it that you really do at Sprintray?
At Sprintray, well, we create the products, but industrial design in general is the practice of creating products for everyday use. From your toothbrush, to the furniture we sit on, to the car that we drive, to the MacBook that you have in front of you. Everything is designed by a person, which means there has been decisions that they had to make before they actually make that product.
Tell me more. That this is very abstract.
Sure.
And what do you mean airplane, cars? You guys are not engineers.
Correct.
But what do you mean that we design and make products?
That's a very great question. I have to take a few steps back. So, inception of an idea. It's like, hey, I want to be able to create an object. Let's use furniture.
Okay.
Hey, I need a surface to sit on. It needs to be ergonomic. It needs to be light enough so I can move it around, so it cannot be very heavy. And also, it needs to fit my size. And I need to be able to make it. So, when you bring all those criteria to an industrial designer, that person starts sketching, coming up with some ideas on paper. Usually that's how it starts. It's like, hey, let me just draw. What do you want? From there, those drawings could be shown to an engineer, for example. And that engineer would tell you that, oh, you need to have this much thickness of material here for it not to break. Or it needs to have an extra structure here or there for it not to collapse on itself when you sit on it. So that's like the relationship between an engineer and an industrial designer. It's like one of them is more worried about comfort and ease of use. The other one is more worried about manufacturing and like tolerances and making sure the thing can be actually produced.
So who are some of the top industrial designers in the world?
We tend to have some people that are like top industrial designers. We also have top industrial design houses or agencies. Some of them are in-house. For example, the industrial design team from Apple. Those guys are in-house, but it's a big group of people making decisions for Apple products. And then we can go to like the other side of the spectrum, which is usually a person maybe or a smaller team like Yves Bahar or a Fuse Project. That's where he runs that. Or Flip Stark. He's a well-known French industrial designer. Based off of what I've seen so far, design houses do much better than obviously a person because you collaborate. You come up with different ideas. Different people bounce off different ideas with each other and make decisions together. Now that's different from design by committee, which is like too many people having opinions on things. Yes.
But if you want to say two names, your idols, people who you really looked up to in your career.
One of them is Dieter Rams. He's a legendary German designer that used to run the design agency or design house of Braun. If you guys are familiar with that brand. It's a German brand, household brand, making a lot of household products.
How do you spell the name?
Dieter Rams.
Dieter Rams. Okay.
And Braun.
Brown.
The other one would be Johnny Ive. I think he had a lot of influence on Apple products. You can see how early on Apple didn't have a very, very distinctive look and feel in their products. Everything was white and beige and all, early days of Apple. And then once he joined, we saw Apple going towards making blobjects. That's the very first iMac that came out. That was like a rounded piece and it was colorful. So you can see how I've started to kind of influence and create a very niche and unique look for Apple products, which then continued till today. And they became one of the well-known names in terms of industrial design and UX design, for that matter.
So this is Didier Rams. And
That's him, yes.
I think I remember some of his iconic designs, which are that shaver, right? This radio is pretty famous.
Yeah, he may not have done all of these things himself because he also ran an agency at Braun, but he had a ton of influence. When one of the things that is his legacy. And by the way, there's 2 documentaries about industrial design. One is called Objectified, and the other one is about Rams himself. And both of them kind of relate to each other. It's by Gary Hustwit. So if somebody's interested to get to know about industrial design, there's a lot of good material in those 2 documentaries. One of them is purely about him and talks about how he shifted mentality at Braun from being very engineering oriented to be very similar to Johnny Ive, changing the tone of their design. His legacy extends beyond the Braun products. He has this 10 commandments of good design, which is till today, it's actually used as some sort of a North Pole for all designers, or North Star for all designers to kind of gauge their designs and ideas. And because the process of industrial design always starts with a bunch of ideas.
Right.
It's never just one thing and then let's run with it. It's usually just, what about this? What about that? But then how do you gauge those ideas in terms of them being a good idea? And he had those 10 commandments that would kind of lead you to the better idea.
Do you recommend having industrial designers on day one? Because in a lot of companies that I dealt with, industrial design is an afterthought, that they make everything and they think that the industrial design is, hey, make this pretty.
Yes.
What's your recommendation?
Let me say that even some companies that they think they take industrial design seriously, they still use industrial design just to make things look good, not work well.
But
That's not it. Yeah, industrial design is occupied with both form and function. It's never just one of them. If one of them, let's use just form. If it's just form, it's art. If it's just function, it's engineering. It's only industrial design when the 2 of them are together combined and there's a good balance between the 2. You obviously have to make some choices and sacrifice things, but at the end of the day, the right design is the one that respects both sides. And that's industrial design. So to answer your question about why some companies don't take it seriously, I think it's because they just don't know that industrial design can actually help them make better products and be more successful selling them to people. Because we, at the end of the day, make things for people. And industrial design, at its core, it's always worried and concerned about how people will use this and how people would benefit from using this, whatever the object is. And we make choices throughout the design process to help them make better choices or steer them towards the right choice. So in that sense, I think almost every company that has a physical product, some companies have digital products, those guys will benefit from UX design and UI design. But when we talk about industrial design, which is concerned with physical objects, any company with anything that has to do with physical objects, even packaging, even a good packaging design can make you interested in the product, even if the product is just spice, could be turmeric or whatever you're shipping, right? Salt. If the packaging that was shipped with it is the right product, you're going to buy that product again. When you have good experience with something, you're going to go back to it and buy it again. So why some companies don't know about it, it's just lack of knowledge about this thing. I don't think you need to have a design house to begin with, but you can definitely, from getting some opinion from some designers on your physical product or on your packaging or on how you engage with customers.
Right. And this is different than product management.
Absolutely.
Where does product management fits in this equation of product development?
Product management, it's one of those, product management is one of those niches that people think they know what they're doing when they become product managers. But even for us, like going through this exercise of running Sprintray, product manager, it's almost like as if you need to know everything about everything and have good judgment and know about things like industrial design or graphic design and engineering and software design, so you can make right choices. You're basically telling people how to make a product. You're the maybe the original creator of the product requirement. And in that sense, you send the marching orders as a product manager as to how this thing should be built, how it should be used to some extent, because that defines a lot of criteria for designers, for engineers to build. Setting some pricing, BOM cost, those kind of things really defines what a product could be. If, let's say, I want to make a toothbrush that is $5 versus a toothbrush that is $200, you come back with different ideas, and all of that is driven by somebody called product manager.
Right. So your current role as chief product officer is beyond industrial design today.
Yes.
So now what is it that you do?
For me, it has translated into maybe keep my industrial design hat, because that's the main concern about usefulness of a product and ease of use of a product, but then wear other hats like product requirements, product planning, new product introduction, which is all about, a lot of it is about planning. A lot of it is about defining the path for the rest of the team to get to that final outcome that everybody desires. And at times it's about managing expectations. It's about managing crises. That happens all the time, developing products. Usually nothing goes as planned. So you always have to be ready to make a judgment and change course,
right,
while keeping the essence of that product that you were trying to come up with. I don't know, the word chief is a bit a bit overloaded, but I feel like I am like maybe more experienced at doing this thing at Sprintray. That's why I'm the chief of the rest of them. But at the end of this, like a collaborative work, especially what we do, it's software product management, it's hardware product management and materials, and then applications that we deal with. So it all has to come together. So at the end of the day, it's more about like, it's like a big puzzle that you have to figure out different pieces of it and sometimes create those pieces so it comes together as a whole. So my role is mainly trying to tell everybody, hey, here's a pitfall. We want to go that way, set some vision for people so they can strive to get to that point. And from time to time, even get my own hands dirty and do things myself so I can feel like how hard something could be to do, even for the user. Not just the creation of it, but like using of it. So it's multifaceted. And you know this, it's not easy to find people who can do this properly. And there's no education for it. Most product managers come from other backgrounds.
Product management is very understudied and educated in terms of this not being taught that much at schools. Yeah. But then once people get into the product development world, everyone wants to become a product manager. And 90% of people are clueless what it is and what it takes to be a product manager. It's a combination of having a good taste is a must. Like almost without having a good taste, you just cannot be a good product developer. You have to know design. You don't have to be a designer, but you have to understand what a good design looks like and feel like.
Correct.
You have to have an inventive mind, because a lot of times you are inventing the gap. You're seeing the gaps and inventing features and capabilities in the product for the customers to deliver a good product. And lastly, you have to be a techie. You have to understand what tech is available to you. You can't just be hallucinating things that cannot be done. So that's why it makes it very hard. And over the years, I think you and I developed a pretty good intuition as well as a system to be able to make good products. And to date, people ask me, what do we do at Sprintray? I call myself a product manager. And I call myself a very hands-on product manager since day one. And I continue be a product manager, spending time with customers, spending time in observing the product gaps and coming up with the next thing, next features, just features. We're talking about that.
That has been one of our strengths as a company, that almost all the founders are hands-on. And as you put it, they're somewhat a product manager.
Right.
They identify problems, they identify gaps, and they go after resolving those things.
So I want to switch to Sprintray. And it hasn't been a smooth journey. It was very ups and downs and difficult days, and a lot of stories to share. Let's talk about how we essentially first time we met and how we decided to do a company.
Absolutely.
You want to start?
Well, yeah. First time I got to know you was in Malaysia. It was the first night that you arrived, and then your cousin, which went to the same school as I did, he told me that, hey, let's go see my cousin. And then we ended up at your place, and then we took you to one of the highest points in Kuala Lumpur to see the town and everything, to try to get you to cheer up. That was the first time we met, and then we bonded over talking about SolidWorks, which is super nerdy, but it's fine. But you and I met without knowing each other a long time ago. We went to the same high school.
That's right.
But we didn't know each other, even though we may have passed by. But yeah, it's kind of a crazy story in that sense. And then later you ended up in USC. I ended up in South Carolina by just how the world works. And then you have always wanted to do something as a side gig or side hustle. That's your thing. And you called me up. We started with some other projects at the beginning. If you remember, we did
a couple of failed projects.
Yeah, we just did almost everything. It was some things about cryptocurrency, and then later it changed into...
No, we did two products in cryptocurrency. One of them was a mining rig, like a remote control. You remember that?
Yeah.
And then we did that, didn't work. The other one was a hardware wallet, which I think to date...
Oh, yeah.
Still a sick product, and we did a lot of designs around it. We just never developed it. It was the first ever, at the time, this is 2017, hardware wallet for cell phones. I think to date, you don't see a good hardware wallet for cell phones. So that was the two things we didn't pick up. And this was I called you. I remember I called you. I said, hey, we're doing a company.
Yes.
We're doing 3D printing.
Yeah. And we started with the Kickstarter.
Yes. And I remember I called you and said, can you make it look good?
This is always the first thing that comes to even my own mind. It's like I see things and I'm like, it needs to look better. And that's the first thing we always start. I was explaining this to somebody else. Our very first interaction, even with each other as human beings, is on what we see.
Right.
So if any product that you want to buy or intend to buy, or even maybe you don't intend to buy something, if it looks good, you're going to be attracted to this. Laws of attraction. It's like if this thing looks good, even if you don't need it, you're going to pick it up and look at it. So that's why, going back to the conversation about industrial design, that's just how it works. Like everybody wants me to make things look good. But it goes always beyond that.
Yeah, with Jing, the other co-founder, we said we're doing it. I remember I hung up the phone and then immediately called you and said, we're doing a company and you got to make it look good. So we did the Kickstarter. We raised $420-something thousand, and this was in 2015, right?
15, yeah.
And after that, it was just the almost non-stop work of getting things ready, one product after one product, to become a key player in dentistry today that we are.
Yeah, it's when you look back, it almost feels insane that we have spent so much time and effort to do this. I think there is a thing that they say, if you knew how hard it was, maybe you would have not done it. It's just that thing.
I think that's what it is. When you're younger without experience, you're more courageous because you don't know how hard it is. And the other thing is that line is something that a lot of times make me thinking that when I see something that scares me, you want to have that naivety in you, because then you start to filter out and then become complacent and you don't take risks. So it's very important to stay foolish, not in a Steve Jobs kind of way, is in a way that foolish to take risk and really not not care about consequences. I mean, take educated risks, but again, be courageous to do things that you know might disrupt you.
Be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Pretty much, yeah.
Like a few issues we're working through right now for our customers makes you really uncomfortable. But then once you try and you understand what the issues are coming from and you dig through them and you resolve them eventually, you grow even through that one simple experience.
So we started the Sprintray. This is 2015, and 2000. I was still at PhD,
and
you were
school.
Still doing the other job. And technically, the things didn't get started till 2000. I would say 17.
Correct.
That
16,
we finished
17,
it. The first 2 years was just getting our feet wet and learning, but we had the first shippable product in 2017. And I remember talking to you early days of switching our market to dentistry was something that you were not comfortable with.
Oh, yeah.
Why was that?
I think part of that had to do with the fact that we started, and the wave of 3D printing in that moment was all about printing things, not necessarily printing for healthcare.
Right.
And that was a new concept. The other part of it was dentistry. We started looking at surgical guides and doing those kind of things, which was kind of harsh to look at in that moment. Today we are used to them. We are desensitized. I think it was a combination of a few factors that made me uncomfortable at that moment, and it almost felt like it's limiting. But today, doing it after all these years, it almost feels like the more we do, there's more to do. Like, it's not really limiting, it's actually unlimited. The industry has been stagnant for a long time when it comes to CAD/CAM. And once we got in it and we started getting really serious about this, we identified so many things that we could work on. And till today, we have to try to keep ourselves focused because we can't really do everything.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's like one of those best choices we made as a company. You as a leader, you made, that really steered us towards a good common cause, because there is that need, and we also are good at providing the answer to that need.
And that was dentistry, and
that
we found our niche in dentistry. And I guess I get asked a lot about passion, and if dentistry was my passion. I have this philosophy that you turn things into your passion. I mean, there's not this divine that you wake up someday and something is your passion. It's a really combination of positive reinforcement plus doing things and getting some results.
Mm-hmm.
So dentistry was never my passion, but I turned it into my passion. It's probably the most important thing in my life right now.
Mm-hmm.
Then the same thing in 3D printing was never my passion, but I got into it. I fell in love with it. And the more you do work and you do good work and you see good results and you get compliment, you get more excited and you work harder.
Yeah.
This is a principle I applied. Went from being nobody in dental 3D printing in the dental industry to right now we're the market leader in this industry, and it's been amazing just from a standpoint of doing it.
And maybe the other factor is that, and I'm stealing your words really here, because I heard this first one from you, that mass customization is a thing that dentistry is all about. So 3D printing, the ability of 3D printing to shapeshift, it can do anything you want. So that shape-shifting really is a necessary component of doing dentistry because we're all different from each other. So that is just like a perfect marriage of a technology piece with an actual need.
Right.
And we found that we put it together. Some of the things we have done so far has been revolutionary, and some of them have been evolutionary. But to some extent, the fact that now we are enabling people to not only provide better care, but also faster and at a better cost for them. So it passes on to everybody else. That in itself is like, could be another component to that passion, because you're helping people, you're helping businesses while running your own business and creating new products. So it's like kind of a self-fulfilling circle of like, you do good, and it goes out and does well, and it comes back in, then you do good again, and then it just keeps going. Yeah.
Yeah, when I look back, that mass customization is a reason we've been successful.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because dentistry is the only industry that customizes the solution to the nth degree for the end customer. Like there's no other, I always talk about it, there's no other industry that customizes the solution this much. Look at the watch you have, the jacket you have, your glasses. These are mass produced, batch produced. You go pick a size and boom, that fits to you. But when it comes to dentistry, the solution has to be customized for you. And there are a lot of people with a lot of teeth. That's why it's a mass customization. And that's what dentistry and 3D printing really work. The other thing was, I always talk about localization and the ability to put these mighty printers next to you and do things whenever you need them. I think it was in 2020 when we first started to print final teeth and crowns. It really hit me that, man, we can put one of these in the middle of the Amazon.
Yeah.
And access to dental care, boom, one shot. Like this was something that needed a lot of equipment, a lot of technology, a lot of setup. Now there's one print in the middle of nowhere and can print teeth, dental prosthetics for people that last arguably more than what you are born with.
Yeah.
That's very
it's amazing.
Encouraging. What is difficult about building a company?
Everything about building a company is difficult. And I really can't say, because this was a joint effort between all of us. So I can't be the only one answering that question. You have to answer to that too. But I think for me, at the end of the day, it comes down to resources are limited. The people that are making that company are also valuable, the most valuable part of that. And people with the right judgment, people with the right skill set and talent, and goal-oriented people who you can kind of rely on to get the task done. Those are one of the hardest resources to find when trying to have a company. And because when we look at the experience of doing this, it's like a daily battle. It's always something up, every morning. I think you have the same feeling. You wake up, you're like, okay, let's see what's going to happen today, You kind of get ready for a fight every day. And then you want to have the team behind you, Otherwise, it's not a one-man job, not even a 5-man job. It's like the entire company has to pull it together for us to be able to do what we are doing. From that, setting a culture for those people, And I think you talk about leadership from time to time and like culture. At the end of the day, it's about the people that become examples within that, people who don't easily give up, because what we do having to do with innovation, coming up with new ideas, making them work. Because you may have a great idea, but getting it to work is a different story. And just finding those people and setting the right examples in front of them to get to that point that you want has always been the forefront of all challenges, in my opinion. I think making just pure technology work for people. It's like we sit in the middle of this. We are somewhat translators of tech for the non-tech. And that is like maybe a second challenge. It's like making those decisions about the product. Doing business is difficult. I mean, you probably have a lot more input on that. But building those relationships that have helped us get to where we are today, those didn't come easy. You had to go knock on doors, find people to talk to. And you've been really great at it. Because not all of us are great at those skills, but you've been amazing. Yeah, I don't think there's anything that you can't say that happened without a challenge, getting
everything
where we are.
Is hard. And the most important part is that you're the captain of the ship. You're not allowed to quit.
Yes.
And then you have to show up every day, day after day, not only motivate yourself and then motivate an army. I think that's the part is very challenging, and you have to. That thing actually at the beginning it was tough, but now it gives me power. And you have this responsibility. You cannot quit. The work is hard. Just go home, sleep, come back tomorrow. Gotta have more energy. And then now you have to motivate and energize other people. I think that part it requires a lot of practice.
Yes. You have to have great mental capacity to be able to weather ups and downs and daily challenges while not losing sight of the ultimate goal, because you can easily get bogged down by the nonsense that you have to deal with every day,
Exactly.
But then finding that right balance. I had a great mentor back in Malaysia. Once he told me that no matter what you're doing, you can't lose sight of the micro challenges, but at the same time, you can't forget about the macro challenges. And the switch between these two kind of thinking at the right pace, depending on what kind of thing you're dealing with. That's what gives you proper balance. Because if you're too high level, you lose sight of what's happening in the field, for example. But if you're too worried about the field, you lose sight of the vision.
Right.
This transition has to keep happening at a very high, it almost feels like a refresh rate. It's like if you don't do this, the image is not going to be proper.
Interesting point of view.
I need to ask you this question. I think it's important for everybody to know, like, how did you come at the decision to go after dentistry?
It was a process. It was not an overnight thing that really led me to believe that dentistry is the direction we have to take. It was a combination of experimenting a little bit, getting results, back to the same positive reinforcement concept. And then when you see the results, that's a sign that you got to double down. So it wasn't an overnight thing. It was a probably 1 year process. You remember it. It was a 1 year process to make up our mind. And before that, the first thought of focusing dentistry was the fact that the product specs that we had back then was suitable for dentistry and we could win compared to competition. So I remember this is 2016-17, I looked at the direct competition that we had, Formlabs, and they were 350 people probably back then. We were barely 10. They had more money. The entire marketing budget was probably more than the entire company budget.
Correct. Yeah.
Their product was already in third generation. We were first generation. It was much more mature, much more developed. The only thing they didn't have was speed. They had a very slow printer, and to date they had to have a very slow printer. And speed mattered.
Yeah.
In dentistry, speed mattered. People cared about speed. So once we started to position the printer speed against theirs and getting some traction in dentistry, I think that we won a few deals here and there and a few customers. That became a sign that we have to go pursue dentistry. So I think at the start was looking at your strength and what is the battle you can win. If we competed with those guys in any other industry, we would have been a loser. The only thing we could win and we had a chance was this dentistry. Then we turned that focus in dentistry into our point of strength. In every conversation, we went and said, we're a dental focus company. The competition is not. This is how we win. You're working with a partner that is only focused in dentistry.
Yeah.
The competition is distracted. They care about 50 other industries. That resonated with customers. And I remember it was 4th of July of 2017, we did some price adjustment, and that month we sold like 4D printers. And that was a big sign for me that we have to focus in dentistry. And then we shut down any non-dental advertising marketing. We officially flipped the switch and we became a dental company, and probably one of the best decisions we've made since the inception of the company.
I think that decision also led into creating the chairside market. I don't think it existed before that. Maybe it existed in like CAD/CAM of other kinds, like milling, but the chairside 3D printing wasn't a thing.
It was not a thing because of lack of applications, and no one was investing in those. And we created this category, and we developed this category more than any other company in this industry. The main reason was there was no good materials to do functional thing, real things, rather than printing dental models. And there was no reason for clinicians to buy it. I remember early days of the dentistry was only models and surgical guides, and then not everyone places a surgical guide. So the pool of people who could benefit from this technology was so limited. And the random doctors that I had conversation with, they were like, wow, why would I need it? I mean, I don't need it. I place one implant a month. I don't need to print it myself. So it was something that wasn't existed. But now we created this category, and then we started to invest more and more and more to become a market leader of that. How do you see the future of our company?
I feel like even though we have focus, which is just dentistry, now that we are focused on it, there's so much untapped opportunity that I think it will take maybe beyond our lifetimes to resolve all these challenges and issues. But I see it as being super bright. I come to work every day that to come up with new ideas, because I know there's a lot of untapped opportunities left. I know there is a lot of things that we may be doing it not as best as we can. We can do better. And there's many things that we haven't even tried. So from the innovation standpoint, I think sky is the limit. Every time I look at the things we do, and like even in between generations, like from Pro to Pro S, there was so much learning that now you apply to the next gen, and then you learn from that, and so on. It never ends. We learn about resin on a daily basis. We learn about how hardware does with resin, and then you add software to that. It's like an infinite combination of things that could go wrong, and it goes wrong, so you have to find ways to make it not go wrong. So no, it's in terms of opportunity for innovation, I think is endless. In terms of us being the market leader and keep going at the pace that we are going, I'm optimistic. We have been showing, just look at past year, the number of things we introduced, the number of things we resolved, the number of new applications we added. I don't think we're going to be ever done with this. So from that standpoint, it's game on.
So are you still having fun?
Yes, absolutely. I think daily, I have a lot of fun that I think my wife hates me. He's like, come back home. Don't want to spend too much time at work. But no, I think the other aspect is that beyond the work part of it, like the people part of it, just like having this group of talented people together and work with them, build those relationships, build relationships outside of the company itself with the customers, talking to them on Facebook, visiting offices, doing things of that nature. It's fun. It's almost addictive. I think you feel that.
Absolutely. What has changed in your life? Let's talk about financial aspects.
Well, yeah, it has had a positive impact in that sense. I think I have to admit that I think both of us, if we had like other jobs at corporate level, it would have taken a long time for us to maybe get to the positions we are in today. I don't think we skipped those steps. We kind of had to do them very quick. We had to learn very fast. We had to adapt very quickly so we could take on those roles. I was a mid-level. After a promotion from junior designer to mid-level.
In corporate America.
Yeah, in corporate America before Sprintray. And then when we started Sprintray, we were all like chiefs, because this is it's like 5 people and they're all leaders. But we went through a lot of ups and downs to get to where we are. But then today I'm Chief Product Officer. It's a mouthful title for what we do. But yeah, the financial benefits of that has been great. I can't really be unhappy about those things. But it also comes with responsibility. It's not like we're done. It's like, yeah, we do what we do. We get paid as much as we get paid, but we have a ton of responsibility. Not only to customers, but also to our own employees and to our board. The decision we make on a daily basis, they all come with a burden. And that's like goes hand in hand with the financial upside of this.
Are you proud of the brand we built?
Of course, absolutely. I never thought we would get to the point that we got today. And I'm sure I can imagine what it could be in the next 10 years. But it would be wrong because it's going to be better. Like that's the type of attitude that I have towards this. Of course, it's something to be proud of, especially looking at like other industries, not just dental. You look outside of dental, you see companies like Tesla, and you see like the rate of innovation those guys have and like how they do it. And then you find parallels between us and them, and you're like, oh, well, this is amazing. Like we're essentially doing very similar things in a different industry, trying to steer people towards a different option where everybody else is going the other way around, going against the grain, completely against the grain. That has built a brand to some extent. It's like people resonate with that, and people who look at Sprintray and view Sprintray as like the beacon of doing this kind of innovation. Super fast, at times could be scrappy, but
you have to be scrappy.
Yeah, it's better than being stuck in like something for 50 years. You wanna push yourself and everybody else towards a better future.
I got a comment about our culture from Jamie, who joined us actually a few days ago to help us create content. So Jamie is sitting here. He's our content lead, and he walked to our office and he said, Amir, there's a different energy here. I thought I'm walking into corporate America, but man, this thing flows. Everyone is very energized. How did you build that culture? So I want to ask you that question.
It's a collective effort of all of us, but I think the culture of relentless pursuit of something better without having to throw tantrums at people because what we do gets really difficult at times, and sometimes the thing doesn't work. You spend so much time and energy to make it, but it doesn't work. I mean, for me, part of what I do on a daily basis is I employ a lot of humor, because that's that's just me. We really try to, it's not about who says it, it's about what they are saying. It's like you elevate voices, you elevate people, not titles. So if you have a good idea, it doesn't matter if you're from, it could be from any part of the company. It's a good idea. So we elevate that idea. So everybody feels that they're partaking in this journey. I think the element of humor, being included in decision making, even if we can't make everybody happy, we hear everyone and we try to include them in the decision making process. And I think the other part of it is, I think just 3D printing is a fun thing. You make toys, you make other fun prints outside of it. Like right now, it's Christmas time. Everybody's printing little ornaments here and there. It keeps everybody kind of challenged at the level of curiosity of like, how does this work? How is this? How's that? The culture also starts with people. I mean, we started it, and we were kind of the techie guys that wanted to make something good. And that wanting to make something good is always a thing. We don't want to just make something. We want to make something really good, so we can be proud of it. So that kind of, I think that travels, that goes beyond person. And if you can sympathize with that, the idea of, hey, I want to be proud of what I'm doing,
right?
Then you join a company of caliber of Sprintray, that then you get to do what you want to do. And from there on, I think it's self-fulfilling. Like, it just goes around. It's contagious.
And the other thing about this industry, it took me a couple of years to really get a grasp of it. You're doing something that is beyond the tactical dollar. It's something that you're helping people get better teeth. It really hits me when we built the Onyx line of resin and people like crying after getting these treatments. I was like, wow, I never thought I would make a product that doctors deliver to patients and patients cry. People who didn't have teeth for many, many years. That part is very rewarding. And the impact of what we have done and what we're doing is beyond the tactical dollar. And it really resonated our team, our investors, our boards, our engineers, every member of the Sprintray team showing up. They know that they're helping the doctors to do dentistry better, faster, cheaper, more accessible.
Right, yeah. I mean, not to demean other industries or other people in 3D printing focusing on other things, but there's a real need and demand for this. I mean, the cost of healthcare being one thing. Second is access to healthcare is the other thing. The two of them combined really puts many people out of being able to afford a good smile and be able to eat. Or even be things or examples of newborns having issues, oral issues that are resolved by printing certain dental devices, yes, it resonates, and it also goes beyond the day-to-day innovation that we try to do. It's a real-world benefit of doing what we're doing, which then we don't get to see that often, which is a shame. But when we see it, it really, I think, melts everybody's heart and gives them another level of reason to do this right.
If you want to wrap the podcast with one thought, one sentence about what we do in the future, what would you say?
My favorite line, it's our next product is our best product.
I love that.
I know.
I'm looking forward to it. Thank you, Hossein.
Cheers.